Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're talking about some old school knives. These are pocket knives. What you have in your pocket right now, it's probably a pocket knife. But this is a pocket knife. This is where it started. Not this specific pattern. This is relatively new in the scene. But I want to start this series talking about old pocket knives, specifically some different slip joint patterns. Just so happens the first video, this is not a slip joint, it's a locking pattern. But in general, videos like this in the future, we'll be talking about different types of slip joint patterns because they all have a reason. There's a reason why they are shaped a certain way. There's a reason why they look a certain way. There's a reason why there's a certain amount of blades in them. There's a reason why those blades are shaped a certain way. There's always a story. There's a story behind every single knife. And as much as I love all the modern knives that we have today, and even though I'll carry a modern knife 99 days out of 100, I still will carry old school pocket knives because there's just class there. They're rich in history. Although they don't have the modern locking mechanisms that we like, they don't have the modern blade steels that we like, they still work. They work great. And they're old school. And they're seriously a big touch of class there. And you know what? They're also not scary. And that's one thing. When I break out a case knife, any type of pattern, people are never freaked out by it. They're more commonly seen as pocket knives as opposed to these scary knives that we carry today. These are not dangerous black tactile knives. These are beautiful, elegant pocket knives, and definitely more accepted among non-knife people than most of what we usually carry. But they're just so rich in history. It's amazing the stories behind these things, the people that were involved inventing these and creating them, and just the reasoning why. Why is it shaped like that? Why is the bolster like that? You know, this specific one is somewhat new. Again, this is the Copperlock, okay? And this is a culmination of different things. Case Cutlery came out with this one in 1997, so it is relatively new, considering most patterns can date back over 100 years. This one is still somewhat of a new kid on the block. But this is a kind of a combination between things. First and foremost, it's a lockback, okay? It's a lockback design, but not just a standard lockback. It also has somewhat of a copperhead look, mainly because of this bolster. And they had to use this oversized bolster because they did want the lock bar in there. So they took the bolster style from a copperhead. It's also somewhat of a trapper. So you have three different types of knives all rolled into one. And it's amazing, it's awesome. It makes for a very comfortable, very useful knife. Because of the addition of the lock on this one, you get that old school feel, that classic pocket knife feel, but you get the security of a locking blade, and a substantial locking blade. 3 1/4 inches long, about a 4-inch handle on these. You have a very prominent clip point blade. You have a rounded swedge. It's not sharpened, so it's a false swedge. You have an oversized nail nick on this. Okay, these old knives, we're not talking about spider holes and thumb studs and flippers. No, these old knives, you use 2 hands, you grab it with your fingers and you open the blade. Now, if it got gunked up in here from use or, I don't know, slight neglect and it started to rust inside a little bit or whatever, you have these nail nicks. It's just a groove. And it was called a nail nick because you'd use your fingernail to help assist that blade out. Give you a little bit more grip on that blade. So this is old school stuff right here. But you know what? They came sharp and they worked. These Copperlocks, they all come to, the clip point comes to a point, but not a very fine point. And you'll find a lot of old patterns, they don't have a very fine point. This is brand new. It's not used, it's not rounded with use. It's just how they come from the factory. Okay? So you won't poke yourself very easily with that. Like I said, as a copperhead style bolster, they did that not necessarily on purpose, but they needed a larger style bolster to accommodate the lock where they wanted it. But overall, it also adds a little bit of a guard. So you're using this knife a little bit harder because you do have the confidence of a lock. You don't have to worry about your hand running up as much because you do have a guard there. So it's dual purpose. Really, really cool. The pattern on the Copperlock is the 549. That's the pattern number because it's slightly a model 54 and slightly a model 49. So they came up with a 549. Generally speaking, these are going to run anywhere from like 45 bucks to $80 and more. If you got a plain one, it would cost you 50, 60 bucks, pretty much anywhere you go. But of course, in the spirit of Case Cutlery, they'll always have their limited editions, their special handle materials, you know, different types of engravings on the blade, different shields. The collector's ones will get more money. Around Christmas time, they have their Christmas ones, different types of holidays, different occasions, commemorative stuff. They've always done special models like that for the collectors out there. And for that, you will pay a little bit of a premium. But just getting a standard one, this one is just a rosewood. it'll cost you about 55, 60 bucks, pretty much everywhere. It's awesome. The different handle materials, they can range to anything, really. And especially with case knives, what they have is they have a certain amount of patterns. And basically you have different shapes of knives. And the only thing that ever really changes is the handle material and the shield. Occasionally they'll do some scroll work on the bolsters or something, but this is a Copperlock. You could see the variety of Copperlocks here. This is from a variety of years. All different years, all different times. They all are identical as a whole. The only thing that's different here is the shield. Okay, see here's a diamond shield with the cursive case logo because it's from a different time period. And the bottom we have a rounded shield. All right, and the hand materials are different, but nothing else ever changes. It's still a Copperlock. And that's what I love about these knives. That's what I love about all old school knives. You can get different handle materials, different colors. Some will be plain, some will have different jigging patterns in it. There's a slew of different combinations you can get with these knives. I will tell you though, the wood ones are all the most slimline. Okay, they're completely flush, they're very slim knives. When I do carry these, I do prefer carrying this rosewood one, just simple, plain Jane. Whereas some of the other ones could be a lot beefier. Depending on the hand material, they flare out in the middle. So a little bit more substantial in the hand. You can see the difference here between these two. But they're all Copperlocks. It's like having different skin. The bones and the structure are always going to be the same. You're just wearing a different shirt, you know, a different pair of pants. So you have a different look and feel of the knife overall. But really, really cool. In fact, I mean, I love the bolster. I am a huge fan of the copperheads in general, that pattern, which I'll probably do a video in the future. But originally these were going to be called the Lockback Trapper because they had a different style bolster on here. But then when they switched over to make sure that this mechanically would work, it would function properly, that's when they used the copperhead bolster and then called it a Copperlock because it was like a large trapper-like lockback, but of course that distinguishable top bolster. Really, really cool, really simple, and they work. But I like them because they're classy. This is where knives started. Not this specific one, but this type of knife. So, very rich in history. I love this kind of stuff. If you guys have any types of old school knives, I'd love to see videos on them. Sporadically, I will do more videos like this, talking about different types of slip joint patterns, talking about old school knives, and hopefully giving you a little bit of information on some of the history of it. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating. And to a collector, it's all about the story. It's pretty much any hobby. When you're looking for something that's really cool, it's because there's a story behind it. That's why you want it. It's not random. So anyway, there's my little video on the case Copperlock. Hopefully you guys found that appealing. I will say congratulations to the person who bought this little collection because, like I said, they're going to be very, very happy. They got an awesome price on it, and I'm very, very happy to be able to pay it forward and give it to someone who's just going to use them or display them, whatever they're going to do with them. I know they're going to really enjoy them, and it's going to make their day. So anyway, that's all. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.